there are major developments here in a legal case that we've been following for years here on The Lead involving CJ Rice, who is now a free man. As of this morning, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania officially considers CJ Rice to be legally innocent of the crimes he was convicted of in 2013. District Attorney Larry Krasner dropped all charges and exonerated him today. Now, you might remember me talking about this case on CNN and in an Atlantic magazine cover story in October 2022. CJ Rice was sentenced to 30 to 60 years in prison. 30 to 60 years for a 2011 shooting in which no one was seriously injured. I know about the case because my dad, Dr. Theodore Tapper, was CJ Rice's pediatrician at the time and testified at court that it was medically impossible for CJ Rice to have carried out this crime, shooting the victims and running away, because CJ Rice at that time was recovering from surgery since he had been shot 3 weeks before and his pelvis had been shattered. He could barely walk at the time, much less run. Now, it became clear from investigating this case for The Atlantic and CNN that CJ Rice had an incompetent defense attorney, that court-appointed counsel, Sanjay Weaver, who failed to bring up his medical records or pull his cell phone data that would have confirmed his alibi, who didn't challenge the complete concoction of conjecture that was the supposed motive for the shooting, and on and on and on, bad decision after bad decision. Now, after following CJ Rice's case and fighting for CJ Rice's conviction to be overturned for years, with my father leading the way and an incredible legal team challenging the conviction, I am happy to report that CJ was finally released from prison in December.
Hey, man. What's up, Jake? How about it? What's going on? How about it?
It's good to see you. It was good to see you, man.
Today's ruling brings even more good news for CJ because not only is he out of prison, Judge James Eisenhower granted him a habeas petition which overturns his conviction, drops all charges against CJ Rice, forever clearing his name. His attorneys will now file to have that criminal record expunged. If you want to help CJ Rice as he begins to rebuild his life, you can check out the GoFundMe set up by dream.org. All of the money goes right to CJ Rice so he can go to school and buy groceries and start to rebuild his life. Here is a look now at CJ Rice's story and how we got here. Finally, CJ Rice is free and exonerated. And in the eyes of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, innocent of the crime for which he served more than 12 years in prison. It has been a journey. For years, my dad, pediatrician Dr. Theodore Tapper, has been telling me about CJ Rice, his former patient, doing 30 to 60 years in prison for a crime my father insists Rice could physically not have committed. It was impossible. In 2020, I took a look into the case and wrote this 2022 cover story for The Atlantic magazine, arguing that CJ Rice had had inadequate counsel. An attorney who acted so incompetently, CJ did not get the fair trial guaranteed him under the U.S. Constitution. The piece was called, "This Is Not Justice, a Philadelphia Teenager and the Empty Promise of the Sixth Amendment." And today, the court granted the motion offered by Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner, agreeing with CJ Rice's attorneys, Carl Schwartz and Amelia Maxfield, that Rice was denied his Sixth Amendment rights to effective counsel.
It would be a violation of my oath to retry a case when we know that if you put all of the reliable evidence forward, it doesn't establish proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Krasner's office has acknowledged that the case handled by prior prosecutors was weak from the start, that there wasn't much evidence at all. No DNA, no weapon, no footage, no solid, unimpeachable witness tying Rice to the September 2011 nighttime shooting and wounding of 4 people.
This is the position where one of the shooters was, the one that was ID'd as CJ Rice, the night of September 25th, 2011. The eyewitness testified that he was 20 feet away. 20 feet away, however, would actually have put him like here. This is 20 feet away. Where I was before, All the way over there? That's more like 50 feet away.
Witnesses said they saw the gunman running, but my dad had examined the 17-year-old CJ Rice just 5 days earlier, and he insisted CJ was in no condition to run.
He had staples in his abdomen over approximately an 8 or 9 inch surgical incision from his breastbone straight down as far as you could go.
That's because 3 weeks earlier, CJ Rice had been shot 3 times in a case CJ says was mistaken identity.
There was no way this young man, 5 days after I saw him, was running anywhere, let alone walking fast.
The one eyewitness who fingered CJ had known him for years. She initially and repeatedly told police she could not identify the gunman, as one of Rice's attorneys, Jason Kadish, told me.
I think it was approximately 20 hours where she had spoken to at least, I think it was 3 different officers, and it never said, this is somebody that's in my neighborhood.
But overnight, police claimed a confidential informant told them that Rice may have been involved. So a detective then showed this photo array to the eyewitness, and she then fingered Rice. When Rice was named as a suspect, his mother, Crystal Cooper, met him at the police station so that he could turn himself in.
And the detective took his arm to help him walk up the stairs.
CJ Rice's family could not afford legal counsel, so court-appointed private attorney Sanjay Weaver took his case, and Weaver, who died in 2019, did not provide CJ with an adequate defense. A source in the DA's office tells me that the witness's testimony would not stand up to any competent defense attorney.
She stated that Mr. Rice had braids hanging down around his face with a hoodie tied up around it. When we looked at the arrest photo for Mr. Rice, he actually had cornrows, so there was no way that he would have been able to have braids hanging down the side of his face.
Though, perhaps tellingly, it had been in long braids in the photo from the police lineup that the witness was shown from a previous drug charge. Another part of the DA's review that helped them arrive at this decision, CJ had told Weaver over and over to get the location data for his cell phone. It would prove that he was, at the time, in West Philadelphia, not the South Philadelphia site of the shooting. But Sanjay Weaver never got that data, nor did the police.
After the trial, then CJ started telling me, oh, she should have did this, I told her to do this. She didn't listen to me.
The DA's office reviewed old recorded courthouse phone conversations and heard CJ Rice begging his mom to push Sanjay Weaver, his attorney, to get those phone records to prove his alibi.
If this case had occurred yesterday, it is very likely that it wouldn't be so murky, that we would have phone records that would geolocate to exactly where Mr. Rice was, or pretty close to exactly where he was.
There were any number of hideous omissions in Sanjay Weaver's incompetent defense of CJ Rice. Attorney Carl Schwartz zeroed in on Weaver allowing into evidence the concocted motive that this was a retaliatory shooting for when CJ Rice was shot, though neither the DA nor the Philly police had any evidence connecting the 2 shootings. The case has consumed my father's life for the better part of the last decade, and though both he and CJ Rice are celebrating today, they believe that the prisons are packed with others just like him.
There were probably 10 or 20 or 40,000 people who were serving time behind bars who are not guilty of the crime for which they are serving time.
I sat down with CJ one-on-one a few days ago for the first time since he'd been released. We talked about what it felt like to finally be free and the letters he exchanged with my dad while he was behind bars.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Jake.
You've spent almost 13 years in prison. How does it feel to be out?
It feels amazing.
You said the air tastes sweeter.
The air tastes sweeter. The sunshine different. It's a different warmth. To feel the sun as a free man, that's... Can't put it into words.
So, these letters from my dad, did you look forward to getting them?
I did.
Yeah?
I did. Like a lot.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a constant. So you get used to constants in jail, but most of them are demeaning or not so personal. But a letter with ink on it from somebody on the other side of the wall, that's personal.
Mm.
That makes you feel human. the care and concern that your father had for me was genuine.
My dad always says that we don't have a justice system, we have a legal system, but there's no justice necessarily.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that.
We're back with more in our Law and Justice Lead and more on the major developments in CJ Rice's legal case, as we told you at the top of the hour. And
hello, welcome to episode 87 of Just My Opinion. And this one I'm entitling Freedom. Due to the recent freeing of one Charles Rice, he had been sentenced to 30 to 60 years for 4 attempted murder cases. Prosecutors say the case did not meet the verdict approved for the conviction. A judge in Philadelphia cleared Charles Rice. In this case, judge in Philadelphia cleared Charles Rice of four attempted murder counts on Monday, after he spent about a dozen years in prisons related to the shooting, for which his officials said there was weak evidence and the prosecution did not meet the verdict of proof. The decision comes within years-long battle of trying to overturn this conviction. Charles Rice, who goes by the name CJ, was serving a 30 to 60 year sentence considered related to the 2011 shooting, injured 4 people, according to court document. He was convicted in 2013 of 4 counts of attempted murder. In November, a federal judge vacated his conviction after the state concluded that Mr. Rice's original lawyer rendered insufficient assistance. The judge stated in 180 days he will decide whether to retry Mr. Rice or dismiss charges. On Monday, the Court of Common Pleas Court in Philadelphia County granted the state's petition to dismiss all charges. This is a quote from Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner. District Attorney from Philadelphia said in the news conference on Monday he declined to try to retrial Mr. Rice again. District Attorney Office granted that it would not meet the burden of proof of the charges, but the office said amounted to extraordinary for Mr. Rice. James Weisenhower granted the prosecution motion dropping all charges. This is a young man that has lost multiple years of his life. 13 years of his life due to this wrongful conviction, due to this miscarriage of justice. Life is short and you only have one life. That's 13 years that was taken out of this young man's life. Despite his doctor at the time stating that it was physically impossible for this man to commit this crime, due to the fact he was shot weeks earlier. Despite his lawyer not putting in his cell phone records that can triangulate his specific location at that time. This case should never went to court, despite eyewitnesses saying they were 20 feet away when they actually was 50 feet away. So many red flags were out there to say that this young man didn't commit this crime. I'm happy that he's free. I'm happy that the justice system vacated his sentence and set this man free. But he just lost 13 years. 13 years of his life. That's insurmountable. He can't get them back. He can't get those years back. He should be compensated for this. I don't like to speak ill of the dead. His former lawyer is dead. May she rest in peace. But the fact of the matter is, she didn't render good services to this young man. She didn't fight in good faith for this man's freedom. I hate to say it, but the only thing she did was collected a check. She was a public defender because he couldn't afford adequate representation. And the bad thing about it is, his doctor said, we don't have a justice system. I'm paraphrasing, so we have a legal system with no justice in it. And this is what it comes out to. When there were several red flags stating and showing you that this man couldn't and didn't do it. It was physically impossible for this man. His doctor came and to testify on his behalf. But yet still, you found the way to convict a man of a case he had nothing to do with. He has a GoFundMe up. Try to get funds to get back on his feet and get his life back on order. In my opinion, the state should automatically render this gentleman some funds. You brought forth the charges. You wrongly convicted this man. You sentenced this man to 30 to 60 years. And now you're just going to let him go and say, my bad. You're bad? You serious? This is wrong. This is miscarriage of justice. This young man should be properly compensated. And the bad thing about it is, how can you properly compensate someone for 13 years of their life being missing? It's about impossible. But you cannot tell me that this young man had to have a GoFundMe or anything of that nature when the state made the mistake. Compensate the man. I miss Mr. Rice the best of luck. Hopefully he can get his life back in order, back in track, be a productive part of society, live a long, healthy, and productive life. And let's open up the books and look at many other cases, because this is just one case. There are many other more out there that suffering the same fate that this young man suffered, but maybe don't have the legal team, new legal team, representation that's going to go to war for him and fight for him. Didn't have Jay Tapper. didn't have Theodore Tapper, his doctor, Jake Tapper father, fighting for this young man. And I'd like to say to his lawyers, Jake Tapper and Mr. Tapper, Theodore Tapper, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You didn't have to put your time and your effort into freeing this young man, but you did it because you knew it was right. It still shows that there are good people out in the world. Thanks, like, share, and subscribe. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Abu Saeed Amin. He does the music for my outros and intros. Anybody want to get in contact with him for his music, productions, beats, or anything, get at him at Abu Saeed Amin at Facebook, Abdul Saeed Amin on Instagram. Also be on the lookout for my other podcast, Hers and His, at Maurice Bullock on YouTube. We're going to do episode 2, which is Strong Women, Weak Men. Thanks, like, share, and subscribe.
Whoever talking, if they ain't got receipts, tell them to shut up. That's how this world really supposed to work. Because if you really about that life, hey, you got receipts. That's how this world really supposed to work. Because if you really about that life, hey, you got receipts. Fuck up. Whoever talking, if they ain't got receipts, tell them to shut up. That's how this world really supposed to work. Because if you really about that life, hey, you got receipts.
Abu Saeed.
Fuck up. Whoever talking, if they ain't got receipts, tell them to shut up. That's how this world really supposed to work. Because if you really about that life, hey, you got receipts. Abu Saeed. Whoever talking, if they ain't got receipts, tell them to shut up. That's how this world really supposed to work. Because if you really about that life, hey, you got receipts.
Advocacy.
Shut the fuck up. Whoever talking, if they ain't got receipts, tell them to shut up. That's how this world really supposed to work. Because if you really about that life, hey, you got receipts.
Advocacy.
Shut the fuck up.